Hi, it's Damien and welcome to Tantric Flame. Now, before we begin today, I want to say something very clearly. So go ahead and take a deep breath. And as you take that breath, I want to say, you deserve pleasure. Not when you've done enough. Not when everyone else is taken care of. You deserve pleasure. Simply because you have a body. And that body is not a tool for managing the world. It is a living thing. It is built for a full range of experiences that tell you what it means to be alive. Now, that's not a self-help concept. That's not a reward system. Sensual pleasure is your birthright. It's what you are designed for. Let me tell you a story about Claire. Claire was in her late 30s. She had 2 young children and was in a good relationship. And she had a busy time. There was no doubt about that. And from the outside, everything looked good. But Claire was carrying something that she'd never actually said out loud. She'd never expressed explicitly. And she really didn't think that pleasure was for her. This wasn't something that she'd consciously decided. It wasn't something that somebody else had explicitly told her. Just over years, it was a quiet, settled assumption, like a stone settling at the bottom of a clear river. She used to say that she watched other women just enjoying things, letting themselves go, and she wondered, how do they do that? She read the stories in magazines about intense sensual pleasure. And she just made these assumptions. She just created these assumptions that because she didn't feel that, then it wasn't for her. That she'd never really had it. She'd performed it, but it was almost like she was living pleasure, like the stories she read, and not experiencing it within her own right. Over time, she actually stopped believing her own pleasure was worth making room for. So gradually and quietly, it just came that that's how it was. Claire felt that she didn't deserve pleasure. But we'll come back to Claire in a little while. That belief that pleasure isn't for you, that belief that you don't deserve it, that's not a character flaw. That's not some part of you that's damaged. And as counterintuitive as it might seem, at its root, it's not about pleasure at all. It's about attention. See, when our life fills up, and this is something particularly women experience, when things get busy, our outward attention moves towards everybody else, towards everything that needs doing. We satisfy the to-do list. We work with our partners. We work with our families, our children, our jobs. And our nervous system over time learns to direct attention away from us. So the signal that I want something, I can enjoy something, becomes less urgent. And it gets drowned out by someone else somewhere needs something. This is not a weakness. This is extraordinary love expressed as a neurological pattern. But there is a cost, and that cost is our body's own signals become quieter. Because we are prioritizing everybody else's wants, the external wants over our own, we are telling our body they're just not worth it. It's like a voice that's being talked over all the time until it just stops trying to be heard. It's still there. It's still there. It's there. It's just underneath everything else. So the belief that pleasure is not for me, that's not a truth. That couldn't be further from the truth. It's an adaptation. It's a story the nervous system tells. There is a technical term for it, if you would like to know. It's chronic attentional depletion. And it's in the direction of others. Because when all our attention flows outward, and this might be to people, it might be to jobs, it might be to other situations, where it goes doesn't really matter. It's the fact that it goes away from us. And it means that there is no attention to feel within ourselves. So you didn't stop deserving pleasure. You just stopped having the attentional capacity to feel it. And those are completely different things. Attentional capacity, unlike deserving, can be restored. Just for a moment, I'd like you to imagine a garden. Not a huge garden, not some palatial garden, just a private garden, walled, contained, just yours. Planted with real care, a long time ago. And when it was planted, it was with the understanding it would spend its life growing into something extraordinary. And then life happened. Work, the children, the relationships, the family. The days just filled up, not dramatically, not through any single decision, not through any single event. Just this quiet accumulation of layers, of other things that needed attending to before us. Nobody decided to neglect the garden. And that is what matters most. There was simply never enough time, never enough attention to go around. There was always something more urgent, something more important, always someone who needed something more. And a garden that is intended, it doesn't die. It grows in the only direction available, sideways, wild, a little tangled, or a little overgrown. The things that were planted there in the first instance are still there. They're still living. They're still capable of flowering, and they will flower. That soil is still rich. The roots are still deep. Nothing is lost. It is simply overgrown. It is simply confused. It is behind all the noise. So I wonder if you've ever passed a garden and noticed something growing that wasn't planted. Perhaps on the pavement, on the street, a wildflower in a crack in the wall. Something green and determined pushing through where nothing was supposed to be. And as you notice these things, you can take a moment for quiet recognition. That sensual pleasure still has a way through. There it is, in that plant in the crack. It's found its way. So this week, in the next few days, not now, but in the ordinary hours ahead, just notice something small and alive, persisting in an unlikely place. And when that happens, pause for one breath. Just one breath. And let your attention drift down into your body and feel what that small persistence feels like in your own body. Begin to hear the voice inside that says, I want. That wildflower doesn't question whether it deserves to grow there. It doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't check whether the wall has decided. It simply grows because growth is what it is. Your pleasure is what it is. Not because pleasure is small or marginal, because it has that same quality of insistence, the same refusal to finally completely disappear. And it doesn't matter how long the conditions have been wrong for, it will still be there. So let's try something now. Just eyes closed. If it's comfortable, just soften your gaze. Take care your spine is straight. And just on the next breath, a nice natural breath, imagine that garden, not someone else's, yours. One that has been there longer than you've been paying attention. Let it appear however it wants to, wall, enclosed, private. Don't worry about what it looks like, just notice what it feels like to know it's there. But it has always been there. That the things planted are still living. They still flower. They still grow. Let your attention drift down into your body. Notice now any response to that knowing. A gentle warmth, perhaps, a slight easing of something. A quality of recognition that lives just below thought. Just notice where that is. No need to look for it. Just let your attention rest there. So stay with that place for a moment longer. Not doing anything with it. Not making it mean something or analyzing it. Just present with it. Here, found, real. This is the beginning of something. Not the whole thing, just the beginning. The first time the gate to the garden has been opened, even slightly. And something on the other side has noticed. Whatever you feel here, however quiet, how much of a whisper, however small, this is not nothing. This is your body remembering what it was built for. So go ahead and take a breath and open your eyes when you're ready. Good. Welcome back. So back to Claire for a moment. When she understood that this wasn't a personal failing but an intentional pattern, that she had just been, that side of her had been quiet for a long time. A long time. And she understood that the garden wasn't dead, it had just been waiting for her to come back to it. And it's exactly that. And she's standing in that gate now, and that's where we'll leave her today. Because, you know, the belief that pleasure isn't for you was never a truth. It was a story your nervous system told to explain a change, a transformation. You are not someone who doesn't deserve pleasure. You are someone whose garden has been waiting. And the most extraordinary thing about a garden that has been waiting is how quickly it responds when someone finally comes back to care for it. Now, what we've touched on today doesn't fully arrive in a moment. It doesn't just happen, but somewhere in the hours ahead, between now and Sunday, you'll probably notice something will surface, something softly growing, unexpectedly, like finding a gate you'd forgotten was there. So when you feel ready, I'd like you to join me on Sunday, where we can go through our next experiential episode and take you fully into that garden and explore your sensuality, open that gate, where we can stop talking about the garden and actually get in there together. So if today felt made for you, if you can feel that sensation, even a whisper, then go ahead and subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. This isn't about numbers. This is because you'd like to walk with me as we go through this journey. So before we close today, just remember the wildflower finding its way through stone. Remember the place in your body where that garden landed. And if you do pass something small and alive in an unlikely place, just pause and breathe. And feel what that persistence of sensual growth feels like from the inside. That's not nothing. That's everything. So, I look forward to seeing you on Sunday for the full somatic session to reintroduce this part of your sensuality.